Alrighty folks, I'm going to do a tutorial, because I haven't done one of those in a little while. I know I'm renowned for liking to do tutorials, but I know I've done a couple of multicam tutorials in the past in both Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you kind of a longer way, but maybe, depending on your situation, better way to do multicam editing in Adobe Premiere Pro. And in all reality, I'm actually just taking my workflow for a client and showing you exactly what I do. So let's do that. So here we are, here's Premiere Pro. What I've done so far is I've opened Premiere Pro, imported the footage that I need, made proxies of it, which I'm actually going to pull one of these. I don't even know which one yet. We'll just pull this one into the timeline right now. We'll create editor sequence right here. Make sure the proxies are on so we can have some smooth rolling footage. Is that the right way to put it? Sure, why not? And I'm just gonna show you the process that I go through here, because as you can see, I have like a bunch of camera clips that are kind of all over the place. And then I've got multiple audio files just as well to be working with. And I want to show you how I get all these synced up. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and create a fourth audio track and a fourth video track, because I'm sure I'll need them. And then I will go and I will start with the studio camera. So the studio camera, what happens here is that it gets split into 3 different clips. So I'm just going to select all 3 of them, put them on the timeline, select them all, right click, nest, and I'm going to just call this studio cam. It's going to become a nested sequence all on its own, and that's going to be its own thing. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to put everybody's camera into this, and I'm going to try to get those all synced up with each other. So I'm going to start with, who am I going to start with? I'm going to start with this guy right here, and then I'm going to do this one second, because you can see that these ones are going to be roughly the same length, but not the same length. And then last but not least, the nested studio cam that I just made, and I might even do that one last. So let me actually get rid of that for right now, because what I want to start with is selecting all 3 of the audios from these cameras, right clicking and synchronizing those, making sure audio is selected here, clicking OK, and this is going to take a hot second. Alright, there it goes. So now you're looking at something a little bit like this, and you can see these numbers here tell you how far off the audios and videos are from their respective audio or video, I guess. So what you do at this point is you just drag these 1504s, drag the video to match up with the audio. Make sure you're dragging the video to match with the audio, because the audio just synchronized itself. So you don't want to be moving audio tracks around. It'll just undo everything that you just waited so long for. So again, up here, video to the audio, and now all these should be in sync. So what I'll do is I'll find whatever is the farthest over, basically like this here, grab my razor tool, shift, cut all of those, and then just delete those so that there's like not weird little tails hanging off the end there. And then I'll go to the back end and I'll do the same thing usually. And now what I'll do is I will throw the studio cam into this mix, which I should not have to do all of them, just these 2 where you can actually see the waveforms really, really well. Synchronize those. So now here's what I would do in this case, right? Because this moved this audio track on us, and we don't want it to do that because we want it to stay synced with these up here. But we know that these 2 are in sync, so what I would actually do is I would just cut this audio off right here without cutting that, and then pull it back. And then all of this should be synced up now. Everything should be synced up with everything else. So what you can do is I would get rid of this one, I'd get rid of this one, I'd actually use this one, and then I'd get rid of this one. The reason that I'm using the blue one there instead of the green one is because if we go out far enough, well, the green one doesn't cut off too soon in this episode, but the green one, the studio camera usually uses power or something, it's a recording limit, something, so I just usually don't use that one. So now I've got all 4 of these camera angles, and I've got this audio. They send me audio coming from each of their mics, so what I do now, this audio is being recorded through a Zoom H6 audio recorder, and the way that that works, if you're not familiar with one of those, is you press a little button. All 3 microphones have their own plug-in to the audio recorder. They all record at the same time. You press a stop button, they all stop at the same time. So these should automatically be in sync with each other as long as they're starting and ending next to each other. You'll see what I mean in a second. But the reason I just said that is because I'll only need to take one of these, pull it onto the timeline, select this and the audio that I still have left over from the other video, and I'll synchronize these 2. So again, same sort of concept here. We got to get this video lined back up with this audio, so we're just going to cut off the excess. Before you cut out any of this green, you want to make sure that you have all the greens lined up. That's the way that I would do this, so you know that that's where it needs to be. So we would also add this guy and this guy. You can see they all start and end right at the same time. They'll be in sync with each other, no worries, no worries. And then what I would do is I'd go down and cut the little tails off of each of these, and then move them all back, and then now we can get rid of this blue one. We don't really need it anymore because we have 3 microphones, 3 microphone audios, bam, bam, bam. And now things are starting to really come together here. So here's the final step. Here's where this actually turns into a multi-camera source sequence. Is what we're going to do now is that we've got all these camera angles, and they should all be synced up. So I don't know if we just want to check real quick. What you want to do after you make sure you have them all synced up is that you want to select all 4 of the video clips, right click, and nest them together. And what I would call this is Multicam Sequence, or whatever you want to call it, really. But I'm going to call this Multicam Sequence, okay. And then I'm going to take the Multicam Sequence that it nests down into here, right click on that, go to Multicamera here, hover over it, so it brings up this, and I'm going to enable multicam. Then I'm going to toggle my little button right here to toggle the multi-camera view. We can see all 4 camera angles over here. And if you don't have this little button, come over to the little plus over here. That gives you your little button manager, and you can just kind of drag it down onto there. And that's how you have it. And if you haven't seen my other multicam videos, real quick, the way that you do this is that you literally just click play, watches through the video, and then whenever you want the camera to switch, you can either just click on one of the camera angles up here, you can click on whichever one you want it to switch to, or you can use the 1, 2, 3, and 4 keys across the top of your keyboard to switch between 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. And that's all that there is to it. So let me know if this helped. Let me know if you ran into any issues with multicam and that's why you ended up on this video, or if this is your first time learning about multicam and you're just going to do it this way anyway. This is, again, a more manual approach, but it's a little bit more foolproof, and it can be better once you start getting like a lot of just kind of jumbled audio and video files, and you have to kind of sync everything up, and you want to have an overview of the whole process. That's kind of why I've started liking doing multicam this way instead of just coming over into the left bar here and picking all the camera angles and being like, create multicam sequence, because sometimes that gets out of sync, sometimes it gives you errors, things of that nature. That's all I've got. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't done so already, and that's going to be the last thing that I have to say about this in this video.